Making a lily. I chose to make my lily pads and my lily flower from acrylic skins. Acrylic skins are made when you pour acrylic paint, which has been mixed with a little bit of water and some PVA glue, onto a plastic sheet and let it dry. You can peel it off once it's dry, and it forms a really quite a tough but thin layer of beautifully marbled coloured acrylic skin. The texture is a bit like a vinyl plastic sticker, and it's quite durable and suitable for making into a model that I can then coat with resin. I chose a marbled blue and green acrylic skin to make my lily pads, and I simply cut them into the correct shape using a pair of scissors. The lily flower is much more difficult, and I chose to use a cutting stamper in the shape of a flower. I wanted it more complex than just this one shape though, so I cut out several flowers which I then joined together using cotton thread. I sew the different flower shapes together and use a contrasting colour. You can see I've got quite a dark cerise pink for the thread, so that I can use those as the stamens for the lily, and they show once the flower has been put together. The acrylic skin is quite resilient, and it needs to be folded really quite hard in order to stay folded. In fact, I use a little bit of white modelling clay between the petals in order to get them to stay in shape. You can see that the needle goes through a single layer of acrylic skin quite easily, but when I try to punch through the 5 or 6 layers that I've got here, I end up using my desk to push the needle, as I don't have a thimble. I recommend getting a thimble. I place the lily pads on the first layer of resin that I've poured once it's nearly dry, and use a bit of ordinary paper glue, like a Pritt stick, to hold the lily pads in place. In fact, I placed 3 lily pads in my design. The first 2 I allow to have slightly curled edges, and I cover those with subsequent layers of resin. The last lily pad leaf I put on the last but one layer of resin. I cut it so that it's got a couple of holes in it, so it's not quite perfect and it looks more realistic, but I don't allow the edges to curl up, so they stick above the layer of resin. The lily flower I also place on top of the first layer of resin. This means that the lily flower is slightly submerged, but in fact real lily flowers do end up like this, and being slightly submerged makes the lily hold its shape better.